The African Development Bank, AFDB, has raised an alarm that rising price of fuel and other commodities could lead to social unrest in Nigeria, Ethiopia, Angola, and Kenya. The AFDB sounded a warning in its macroeconomic performance and outlook for 2024, in which it also did project that the growth on the continent will rebound to 3.8% this year. However, the bank cautioned that an increase in fuel and commodity price occasioned by currency devaluation or subsidy removal in Nigeria, Angola, and Kenya and Ethiopia could trigger internal conflict. In Nigeria, the cost of living crisis is blamed on the federal government policy of the petrol subsidy removal and floating of the naira. Northern traditional rulers also warned last week of agitation by their subjects, as according to them, the suffering was becoming unbearable in the country. The Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abakar III, who spoke for the traditional rulers, said that the economic hardship in Nigeria has reached a level where citizens were hungry and angry. He specifically warned the federal government that the hardship caused by insecurity and poverty in the north was getting to a level where they were increasingly finding it difficult to pacify their people. And also, the organized labor has also announced a 2-day nationwide protest this month over the hardship across the country. But the African Development Bank warning and inflation and hardship still increasing, what should the federal government do and do first to avert such social unrest? With the recent meeting and recommendation coming out from the meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the 30 state governors last week, can it help resolve some of the issues? Is the big question on the big story for today. Well, a look at this and more as it concerns the state of the nation is what this edition of the big story is all about. Well, taking a critical look at the state of the nation and looking at those challenges that should be addressed indeed to help avert social unrest as predicted by the African Development Bank. And that's what we're looking at. We're critically looking at the state of the nation as it is today, and finding those means to help address some of the challenges being faced by ordinary and all Nigerians is what we're having as a major one. And to truly help us talk about this, well, it has been a while, and the first time this year we're bringing him on board. And I'm talking of no other but our very own economist, Mr. Gideon Oguns. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Well, it looks as if you're really... Oh, same to you. And the way you're dressed, it looks as if you're really going to an African Development Bank meeting. Anyway, we got the projections just during the weekend, so I doubt if you're going there now. But anyway, let's just sit around and look at it critically. Yes. It is... it's not like the African Development Bank is now sounding like a soothsayer and predicting unrest. Because already we've seen some of these unrest going on. The first one was in Mina, the Niger State capital, and in Kano. And like we also did say in our introduction, on the 27th and 28th of this month, February, yes, the NLC is likely going on a nationwide protest. And, but my question still remains.
And tomorrow, tanker
drivers are going on strike. They are going to close shop, as we know it to be. But my question still remained, would there have been a different approach from what Tinubu administration has done as it concerns the removal of fuel subsidy and naira floating, which the African Development Bank said is the reason for the proposed unrest in the months ahead? So let's just hit it hard on the head. Would there be another approach taken? Because this basically is what they are predicting would lead to social unrest in the country.
Social unrest
Forgive me.
There has been
a different approach by this administration.
Yes and no. Yes to the intent that a more critical thinking of the entire picture before these same policies should have been taken. Things would have been set up, put in specific strategic places for these policies to work. But just using a dictatorial tool to say the door must be shut.
And shut
and
it
so
was.
the door is shut. Now, it's possible at the time the door was being shut, somebody's hands were there. So what happens? This person is now amputated. So hardship is real. It's real. So they should have, these are policies that should have been taken, but they were not thought through before they were taken. And so the overall
Consequence.
is
what we're
hardship.
So it was something that naturally would have come. But what you are indirectly saying is some other things would have been put in place before this action was...
To check those things. For instance, the FS.
Okay, yeah, let's stick with the Forex.
If you desire to move or close gap between parallel and official markets, then you will have first and foremost look at why this disparity.
Okay. Study it.
Study it.
Understand it.
For example, the parallel market have been there because of the pressure of those, or the demand side of the dollar. So many
which
people
the normal F&X is not meeting.
They want to meet up their financial obligation outside the country to the detriment of whether that thing is there or not. And some of the things the individuals are doing are tied to time.
Okay.
So when you bring in the bureaucracy of the official window, they won't be able to meet up.
Okay.
And so they caved out a way to be able to meet up, even if it was costly. Now, you now went to say no, they should come closer, but you did not improve
on the outflow.
So what you've done is you doubled the pressure on the dollar, because right now officially there are things that must be transacted on dollar. The individuals are still wanting to do their transactions. So
you did not change the problem. Oh. You only added to it.
The pressure. Because those who were coming at official rate, because of the bureaucracy, you have to, let's make it simple, you have to book. You have to tell them in 1 month, in 2 months, in 3 months. So you streamline that. Now, that is no longer there. I want it next week. The other man wants it today. And between now and next week, the inflow of dollar is not coming, and everybody is hustling to get the few that is there. So what did you get? A spiral. And that's it.
So what do you feel he would have done on this? He would have...
Beautiful. What he should have done first and foremost was identify the dollar debts
being owed.
And
backlog.
Work on
putting
them in installments. Agreeing with the debtor.
This will come here, this will come.
This is what we're going to.
Airlines will be paid.
Ensure that dollar will now be done electronically. In which case, you don't need to go to the market to buy dollar. Get the debit card. Do it on E. In that way, the pressure will have been contained. So all we need to do is do a streamless thing, flood your account with Naira. Then, if we are using the official window, we know the exchange rate, and we transfer. And CBN to CBN, I mean, Central Bank of Nigeria, they will have their own understanding.
And records.
For it to be curtailed. So, first, the C would have been going to the Bank of England or America. Whichever, and sit down with the person. This is the situation we want. So please instruct your banks. Bank-to-bank transaction should be at this rate.
Okay.
And so it will not be like in those days when you had something called a traveler's check, where there were no cards. So you just write a check. You get to a bank there, or a manager's check as they call it. You just go to the other bank.
Present it.
And once you present it, the money is given to you in that, because the exchange have been agreed. You didn't put all that. You just lump them. Now everybody wants the dollar, and you don't have it to give. So those who have because if you sell yours, how will you remain in business?
So best in hold it.
So
and let the scarcity continue. Okay, now let's still continue with the issue. And I want us to first start with the hardship, because we said we're looking at the state of the nation. Yes, it's inevitable this comes, but the style and manner and approach it was being executed is the reason for the hardship we have. Okay, now let's deal with the hardship. Now, Nigeria annual inflation rate climbed further to about 29.9%, up from 28.9%. And funny enough is for 28 years now, we've not seen this inflation.
Yeah.
It's extremely high. And funny enough, it even was above market forecast of 29.5% that everybody was projecting January will be. Way above it, almost by 4% above it. But what was no surprise was that food inflation was still the driving force of the inflation. But let's leave food. That was not only what increased. Every other commodity increased.
There's nothing that did not increase.
Cement
There's nothing
increased to about 11,500. Last week I was fortunate to call my people in Abuja. 16,000 naira is what a bag of cement is being sold for. So everything increased. Goods and services, others increased. Now, this will now force me to ask, forgive me asking this. I might sound like a novice, but I want to ask. Now, it is 9 months since the removal of fuel subsidy and floating of the naira. And everybody would have thought that by now we might have struck an equilibrium. Okay, remove the subsidy, the issues, all of that will just generate, after some few months, we'll come to an equilibrium. But that seems not to be the case. Floating of the naira, just like you said, maybe after some time, it settles. Not having it today 1,500, tomorrow 1,600, 1,700, so it's still waving after 9 months. Why?
Very simple answer. Let me first, at the risk of sounding like a prophet of doom, that the rise in inflation had not peaked.
Hey.
Because what are the drivers of inflation? Number one, low productivity. Mike, in these 9 months, have we increased the productivity in any segment? Have unemployment been reduced? Have more food been produced? Are there no fears that hunger is coming, so people are hoarding and stacking food away? So we've not increased in producing anything. 1. 2, have we tried to make exports a more dominant part of our balance of trade and payment? The answer is no. Let me shock you a little. Look at Dangote telling you that he will import
crude from US.
How did that sound in your ear?
Absurd.
A nation like Nigeria,
absurd. It's strange.
Who have 2 best qualities of crude in the world market, cannot service its own. We cannot turn Dangote into our first customer. And you are talking of curbing inflation? How? We have the resource. You cannot tell anybody to increase the quantum of productivity in crude oil so that Dangote refinery don't need to go to the world market.
Yeah. Brings in the much needed dollar.
So you see that we have stayed 9 months, yes, but we've not done anything to redress the issues that are confronting us. The 2 policies we keep hitting at are on their own not bad policies, but they were badly implemented. As far as throughout last year telling you same thing. These are good policy. You want to remove fuel subsidy? So good. So good. But what are the things that the fuel subsidy removal will bring? Number one, high cost of transportation. High energy cost. So what do you do if you really want to fulfill the constitutional provision of the primary purpose of government is the welfare of the people? You address these two issues. They told us that CNG buses were coming. Please point one.
I've not seen any.
They told us that they are rolling out a training to make sure that it is harnessed everywhere. Name where the training is taking place. I want to enroll. So you see people who just make a statement and do not take any action. For these 9 months, no action has been taken. Thirdly, why would there not be action? The man who earns a salary, his salary has been fixed for the 9 months. However, the prices of goods and services have not only increased so where is it? And in Nigeria, in our sectoral economies, we discover that the public sector takes over 45% of those engaged at work. The next segment that you can say, okay, it takes a lot of people is agriculture. The last is commerce and all the others. Now, the issues go to agriculture. People were supposed to get a palliative from government for the purpose of increasing agriculture. The seedlings, the funding didn't get to the farmer.
The real farmers.
Rather, what you see on the pages of newspaper is somebody stacking $800 million in his house. Somebody taking the money, the commonwealth of Nigerians, and putting it in a private account. Somebody who is showing us a warehouse where newly printed currencies are stacked. We all know, it's elementary, that is stagnant water smells. So once money is not flowing and going round to come round, its value depreciates. And once you are not adding value to anything, then it's not honorable. That is where forest comes in. Now people now don't want to store their wealth in naira. They want to store it in dollars. So the same program continues. We have killed naira. We want dollar to, if possible, also die. But those people are wiser. I've asked you once here, do anybody transfer money to a brother in America and the person insists on collecting naira? I'm asking you, sir.
No, you can never.
But why is it that when somebody sends dollar from America to Nigeria, the person insists on collecting dollar, and the government looks at that and say, these are the problems. Which of these ones that I've mentioned have been tackled in the 9 months? If the answer is none, then don't be too surprised. They make flippant statements, but there are no actions showing that they meant what they are saying.
Okay, anyway, we'll mean the discussion we're having, and indeed, it's an interesting one. The state of the nation is what we're looking at. We're looking at the present challenges bedeviling us as a people, and looking at where we are as a people, and what can we really do to address them. We'll need to go on a break, but be rest assured, when we come back, we'll look at some of the measures this administration has planned, or will plan, or did say that they will definitely do to either ease the hardship or deal with the insecurity in the land, to see if they can make Nigerians smile again. Let's go on a break.